TIFU by not researching female puberty. My husband, 35 meters, and I, 45 meters, have a 10-year-old daughter, Anna. Today, she woke us up freaking out. Her sheets covered in blood. And being two gay disasters. We too freaked out. Got her cleaned up. Bleeding wouldn't stop. First search results from Google. Injuries: sexual assault. We obviously sat her down. Ask her if she fell or if someone did anything to her. No and no. An hour later, bleeding still wouldn't stop. By this point we've already called the hospital. She says her stomach and legs hurt really bad, but that she didn't fall anywhere. So now the nurse who was unlucky enough to get our call had to explain to two grown-ass men and a freaking out teenager kid that she'd just gotten her period. And that she had cramps. I am way out of my depth here. Husband is at the store right now buying pads, chocolate, and Advil. We've already apologized to her for being complete buffoons. She's in the bath right now probably hating our guts. Yay to being idiots. TLDR, daughter got her period. And her two idiot dads called the hospital. Edit. I promise we haven't been neglecting her. Most of the things regarding puberty we experienced ourselves, so obviously there were conversations when things started showing up. Talked to her about body hair and deodorant. I had pretty bad acne, so when it started showing up I showed her how to use product and the such. We haven't been neglecting her. This particular part we never had to deal with. Last edit. I just want to say thank you so much to the people who are giving advice. This kind of support is incredible. So my plan is to have a big box full of period stuff. And just stock it monthly so she doesn't find herself in an uncomfy position. The plan for the box is the What's Happening to Me book pads, period underwear. Need to do more research on tampons and menstrual cups first. Heating pad, hydrogen peroxide to clean any stains in terms of food, salty chips, chocolate, and whatever else food will make this easier on her. Some people said salt makes period cramps worse. As does chocolate. If you have any recommendation for snacks, please let me know. My doll a calendar and diary 2L bottle of water. I've also booked an appointment with our family doctor. Found a gynecologist and we've got an appointment booked for 3 days from now. It's only for information's sake. She's not getting a checkup. Def going to get a garbage can with a lid so the dog can't get into it. Won't flush product. Thank you so much for all of your advice. I'm going to put my phone down now so I can share what I've learned with her and my husband. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your days for this. Thank you. Update. The young lady is cuddled up next to my husband on the couch. And we're all watching Frozen. She's still mad at us. But she cracked a smile when she saw the snacks and little knickknacks. Also, one last thing. We did know the basics. Blood monthly. Mood swings monthly. Bad acne. About periods. We just assumed they would come much later. It was 3 a.m. There was blood everywhere. And we were all panicking. This is natural, was not the first thought that crossed our minds. Buy her lots of replacement undies. I hated having raggedy period stained underwear. Other girls may get a glimpse at slumber parties or in the locker room. By the way, vaginal discharge gets really weird from this point on. And it can stain and discolor undies too. FYI. It can take a couple years for periods to get regular. Don't be surprised if she has them several months in a row and then goes several months without them. Or if she has mood swings from the hormones without a period. Some stuff you might not think about. Point 1. Figure out a place to stash period supplies in your bathroom. And keep it stocked. She might not want to ask you if stuff runs out. 2. Make sure any bathroom she uses has a trash can, since you can't flush anything. Point 3. For what it's worth, I bet sanitary products disposals bags. But I think I'm unusual in this. But something to consider. 4. Periods can be a surprise. So be prepared for, Dad, my period just started, anytime. You probably want to a pad or two in your car for this. Point 5. Figure out what you need to do for school. If they don't have supplies in the school bathroom, she's going to need to bring them with her. She might want a purse so she can carry them from classroom to bathroom. 6. If she has a phone, it may have a built-in tracking app. I think my daughter's iPhone does. Point 7. You'll be asked, when did her period start, every health form until she fills them out herself. Get a good book about female puberty written for girls and read it yourselves before giving it to her. Also think about how you will talk to her about sexuality, bodily autonomy, consent, and lots of other sensitive topics. Ask female friends for advice. Heating pads or electric blankets can work wonders. Also, if she has a smartphone or other device, I highly recommend downloading a period tracker. This will help her keep track of symptoms and her schedule so that it won't be as big of a surprise next time and she can be ready. I recommend Pink Pad. It's what I used when I first started. Some smartwatches, activity trackers also have menstrual cycle trackers. As for books, I agree with others that you should definitely buy and read them yourselves. Then give them to her. I had the care and keeping of you as a kid and they helped me a lot. Also, this does not make her a woman. She's still the same girl she was before. Don't let society tell her otherwise. Could have been worse. You could have rushed her into the emergency room. Seems like something you'll laugh about later. Certainly not at the time. For what it's worth, my mom told me all about everything years in advance because I followed her to the bathroom all the time. I still freaked when I got my period. We're told a lot of things about our periods making us women. And I had a meltdown thinking I had to start wearing pantyhose. In my defense, I was 12. Anybody remember the Roseanne episode where Darlene thinks she can't play basketball? I don't think men have anything like that. Some pivotal moment in puberty where they're considered something entirely new. And our culture doesn't do much in the way of rites of passage, but there are period kits you can order online that are celebratory, for lack of a better word. Maybe worth considering? As an aside, a friend and his husband have spent almost a decade as house dads to 45 teenage girls at a boarding school. Lots of moments like this. And even more girls who've grown into successful women. You'll be fine. It seems like you've gotten lots of solid advice. But an important thing to remember while you're already worried. The first 2-ish years of menstruation are very often super irregular. Standard cycle is 28 days, with 5 to 7 days of bleeding. Usually 2 to 3 days of heavier bleeding and the rest lighter bleeding or spotting. Your daughter may experience a cycle wildly different from this. She might go 6 months without another period, then bleed for 3 weeks straight. Or she might bleed for 2 days, a week of nothing, then 4 more days of period. Her body hasn't settled into a normal cycle yet, and probably won't for at least a few years. That is totally normal. Obviously she should keep track and you should check with her doctor if you're worried. You should only really worry as if she has severe, debilitating pain like crying, vomiting, can't stand up pain. If she hits her teens and her cycle is still wildly irregular or she has long and heavy periods. If she often bleeds through to her pants. You may want to talk to her doctor about birth control. The pill, NuvaRing, The patch and shots all can give you a lighter, regular cycle and were a lifesaver to me as a teen. Also, give her a spare set of pants and a hoodie to keep in her school locker. Few things are worse than trying to survive a day of middle school with a bloodstain on your ass. Make sure you get some decent pads. They're super different. Don't get scented ones, they can give her a yeast infection. She might like the extra long night ones for sleeping. For light times, just some panty liners might be plenty. Don't get a cheap brand, they suck and are uncomfortable. She's also so young. Some of the standard ones may be too long and thick for her. Maybe get a few different kinds and let her tell you which she prefers. I also think she's probably a bit young for menstrual cups. But she'll probably be old enough in a few years. Be aware at that point that they come in different sizes. And don't accidentally get her the one meant for people who have given birth. Tip: blood washes off textiles with cold not warm water. Get her the book, The Care and Keeping of You. It's full of all kinds of topics related to puberty for girls. And it's actually an interesting read for them and written on their level. Read it yourself too. Please stay open with her about all of these topics. It can be a confusing and sometimes scary time. Imagine waking up covered in blood as a kid. And she needs to feel like it's normal and she can talk to you about anything. I know it's probably uncomfortable for you. But you really need to set that aside completely. Or she will be afraid to talk to you about it. Feel free to DM with questions. I'm a woman, a nurse, and a mom. Good luck. This particular part we never had to deal with. Not trying to be a jerk. But I feel like this should have been researched somehow at the time you had a daughter. This is the 2021 version of the 3 Men and a Baby franchise. I'm actually curious about both you and your husband's upbringings. I mean, I didn't expect either of you to be experts on puberty in women. But I'm surprised that just from growing up, and/or movies, and/or books, and/or conversations with people, that this very basic part of puberty didn't come up. I'm not being a dick, by the way. I'm actually just really curious. Like, I get being clueless about what to do, products you might need, which types to get, etc. But just the idea of a period not being known is odd to me. Outside of a repressed and really sheltered upbringing. Edit. Okay guys, I get it. But everything in this post suggests they had no idea what a period even is. Including having talks about puberty in the past. But only mentioning things both guys, girls go through. Hell, the words themselves mention having no idea, and they only know what to get after talking to a nurse. So like, I'm curious. And that's why I asked the question. Midol can be very useful for periods too. It contains acetaminophen, Tylenol, as well as some caffeine to act as a diuretic. Water retention is a fairly common symptom of menstrual cycles. Caffeine can help flush that. And Midol Complete also contains an antihistamine. Talk with a local pharmacist to see what may help best. Also keep in mind that each period can be unique. Some hurt more. Some are longer. Some have less flow. There may or may not be water retention with each one. Comfort foods or comfort activities may be different as well. Hot baths and heating pads can also help relax the muscles and reduce the intensity of cramping. This cannot be real. There is no way 2 adult men adopt a girl and don't live in perpetual anxiety in anticipation for the day that she needs help with her period. Does your family live in a cave? She's in the bath right now, probably hating our guts. You thought she hated your guts now. Wait until she hears that you announced it on Reddit. Can I just suggest period underwear? For girls just starting their periods, it can be much easier to manage than pads, etc., especially when at school, as I know there can be some embarrassment about going to the toilet with her bag, etc. Modi Body and Thinks do good ones, some of which are aimed at teenagers. I think places now Target, Marks and Spencer's have their own versions as well, depending on where you are in the world. I also echo buying a really good book for her to look at in her own time, which you can also read. I think What's Happening to Me is often recommended in these situations. There can be a lot of anxiety, shame and fear for young women around periods. It's really on you to make her feel confident and comfortable. Good luck. 10. Shit. My oldest is 10. I thought it was more like 13. I'll make up a to-go bag right away and read every single comment on this thread. Thanks. Your misfortune will probably be a godsend to me. Sniff. My little girl is growing up. I haven't read all the comments, so this might have been mentioned already. But pads are generally much more comfortable. At first I used pads for years before I was comfortable enough with my body to use insertable things like tampons and menstrual cups. Pads were way easier. It's a hard enough time already.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.